What's happening, people? Welcome to another edition of Courtside Fracas, part of the Touchline Media Group. All exclusive basketball content, everything to do with the NBA coming straight to you. It's going to be the definitive voice of the UK when it comes to all things NBA. Coming to you this week with exclusive, special playoff previews. So today we are going to do the Western Conference, but we are also going to do the Eastern Conference on a separate pod. So we are actually going to release record two today, and try and condense everything that you lot need to know into two short, succinct pods, just full of info, full of intel on what you can expect to see in the playoffs coming up. Obviously, we are aware that there are new listeners getting into the game. That's part of the reason we've set everything up. So, quick playoff explanation for those who are not overly familiar. Once the regular season is done of the NBA, the top 8 in each conference, the West and the East, the two split-off leagues, go into the playoffs. The playoffs are the be-all and end-all. That is what the NBA is all about. It's coming out the other end with those championship rings, with that chip. So how the playoff then works is you'll have seeds that come based off your regular season performance. So first, we'll face 8th. Second, we'll face 7th. Third, we'll face 6th. Fourth, we'll face 5th. And then they're kept separated first and second until that last round to reward the best seeds in the conference. Those who are coming from new sports, one of the key sort of NBA special aspects of this is that they are 7-game series, okay? So that might be a bit of a mad thing to people coming, especially from football, with the one-legged Champions League that we're seeing now and two-legged as a maximum. But 7-legged series, they really leave no hiding place. It's rare you see a freak win. You really deserve it. There's a lot of scheming, a lot of prepping, and a lot of reacting to different players and different teams. So it's a real exhibition on what teams deserve to go through. First to 4, best of 7. Usually there is a home court, away court sort of advantage, disadvantage based off the seeds. But as we are all in the Orlando Disney World bubble, you ain't got to worry about that as a new viewer this time around. So starting off with our Western Conference special this morning, I am joined by Harold. What's going on, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm not too bad, thank you very much. How are you?
All good, all good. Nee.
Yo, hello. What's up? It's good.
Nee, I won't lie, mate. You were the one sort of saying, "Yeah, I'm ready. And the last day to the pod, but it's all right. Okay. It's an early Sunday morning, so there's been some debate. This year, what's going on, bro?
Good, I'm good.
What's happening? And new cast member, new courtside edition, Janine, Clippers fan. So just riding in at the right time, this season especially. Janine, do you want to just quick little introduction of yourself for those that don't know? I know you've done another episode on the Clippers and their history separately, which will be coming out, but yeah.
Yeah, so hello everyone, I'm Janine. I'm not a long-reigning Clippers fan, but I have been supporting for like the last 5 years. So, and right now we're in great standing for the playoffs. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen.
I just wanted to give you that opportunity to get the sort of 5-6 year thing out, just in case anyone thought you saw a really interesting trade last summer and thought, that looks like something I could get involved in. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity to get that one out. So this week, this is how this is going to work. Like everybody here is fortunate enough to, apart from Nee, who's got to be a real purist, everyone here is fortunate enough to have their main team in a separate playoff series in the West. So everyone can be a relative expert on this. So how it's going to go is I'm just going to pivot over to the people who know best in terms of these playoff series, do a little intro, and then boom, I'm going to be listening as much as some of our listeners are in terms of what to expect in these matchups. The playoffs officially start tomorrow. That is Monday. Keep an eye on the Twitter. We will be putting up UK times and channels if they are on Sky Sports for all of the games, for all of the series. So keep an eye on that. I'm going to start straight away with Hot Take Harold, just because I feel like, Harold, you might want to get some stuff out of the way. So straight away, we're looking at the Los Angeles Lakers, first seed, who were steamrolling the West to start off with. Bubble life hasn't been as good to them, you could argue, apart from a one-off, maybe big win against Denver recently. And as we only found out last night with the new sort of play-in tournament, if you can call it that, seeing as it was a 1-in-1 game, Los Angeles Lakers will be up against the Portland Trail Blazers, who've been on fire all bubble, especially Dame Lillard, when he has time to not be arguing with Skip Bayless in public and has been dragging them through some really, really tight games. Yeah, not the matchup you wanted, I don't think, Harold.
Yeah, far from it. Far from it. And as you said, Dame Lillard has been in super form. There was something called a unanimous MVP there's something called an MVP bubble, or bubble of MVP rather, and he won unanimously with all 22 votes. Not too sure why that even existed, not going to lie, but okay, well done. You were the best player out of 8 games. Congrats. But not to poo-poo on his name, he did do very well. He was sensational. I have it down that he averaged about 34 points a game. He led the team. But as we start on the Blazers, I'm going to finish off. So I watched the game yesterday against the Memphis Grizzlies. We did a Discord live on there. So if you're not already part of Discord, please check it out. We've got more content coming soon out on there. CJ McCollum, seems like he's healed from his back spasms or he's broken back, or however people are exaggerating it to be. He seems to be playing well down the stretch. Played some ISO ball against Ja Morant, and to which he started shouting, "You can't effing guard me." Bear in mind, Ja Morant this is his first year in the NBA. CJ McCollum, have some shame. Nurkic, there's been arguments about whether he's a top 10 player, top 5 center in the league. Not yet convinced on him. He can put up good numbers. There's no doubt about it. He's managed to push a good performing Hassan Whiteside out of the team. However, he does have a lot of defensive lapses. He likes to allow other people get to the basket and get their own rebounds while he's also under the rim. Most recently against the Dallas Mavericks, where Doncic was just like, okay, I'll just walk on by and I'll just grab my own rebound after shooting a 3. And yeah, so he needs to fix on that in order for him to be any sort of problem. Carmelo Anthony, he is rolling back the years. He was seemingly exiled from the league. He managed to come in and he's fit in so well with this Blazers team. And it's just such a good suit for him. Even in the stretch, you see him hitting clutch threes. The pressure is absolutely nothing to him. So yeah, he's doing really well. Gary Trent Jr. has managed to shoot like a normal person after shooting about 60% in the last 2 games from 3. But yeah, his numbers have definitely diminished down a little bit, but he's still a very good threat to bring off the bench, especially when Dame is sitting. The rest of the bench, we got Gabriel, Hazonia, Whiteside. They're okay. I mean, they're not putting up any trees. They're following in the common theme of the Blazers, which is to not defend.
Can I just say something, Harold?
Yeah.
Whether it's dashing Dame's little award or making light of CJ's spasms or questioning Nurkic after his monster game yesterday, I'm sensing a bitterness before the series has even started here. Like, what's going on?
It's not a bitterness. I think we need to. It's more of. I mean, we're critiquing, aren't we? I mean, I do honestly on the first point you made about the MVP of the bubble. What's going on there? Like, they had an all NBA team for the bubble. What is going on? It's been 8 games. Like, there's just no need for it. It's just, but whatever, ratings, innit? You know, ratings are all that matter to Mr. Silver. Hence why the Pelicans were even in the bloody bubble. So I do find it a little bit strange, those things. I just thought it was worth mentioning because the petty in me is coming out. What else was I going to say on the Blazers? So on their bench, that's probably where the Lakers don't look so outweighed. The Lakers bench is appalling, if I'm going to put it lightly. But the Blazers bench is not that much better than them anyway. As I said, they're not putting up any trees. So that's one matchup where in the second unit, you expect them to at least have a decent plus minus. So we'll see. We'll see how that comes in. Onto the Lakers themselves. Yeah, as you know, we haven't been very good. As Janine was speaking, I was trying my best not to show any spite for her Clippers. The only thing I'm hanging on to the Clippers is their crappy chemistry. But anyway, I'll leave that for her own segment. On the Lakers themselves, we played 8 games in the seeding games. We lost 5 out of the 8. Even in the games that we won, with the exception of the first game, I think we didn't really play well. The first game we were okay, but I mean, we weren't playing against the strongest Clippers side anyway. The game in which both AD and LeBron both played well, it was against the Denver Nuggets, where we had to rely on a last-minute 3 or last-second 3, or was it 0.04 seconds remaining from Kyle Kuzma. We played awful defense. Like you saw down the stretch, you had LeBron, AD, and Dion Waiters just looking at each other. Like who's guarding the man going straight to the rim? It was was really poor. Whenever someone goes to the rack and finishes and players are looking around, looking at each other, it's never a good look. You know that this was, of course, it was never planned, but this happened on a frequent basis. It was like almost every stretch.
That's LeBron's trademark, man.
Yeah, but to be fair, you say that, yeah, and that's based on last season. But this year, he actually has been playing some good defense. But I know what's happening. As a team in general, we've just been really poor since.
How much, Harold, of that do you put down to just locking the first seed early? Clippers weren't going to catch even if they put all out, but Clippers aren't going to do that. Clippers have managed their roster very sparingly throughout the season anyway. How much of this sort of maybe lackadaisical performance do you put down to just being like, listen, we're first seed, we're not going to go all out? Or is it just maybe they're a bit gassed from putting so much defensive effort the season prior?
Well, I think it definitely does take effort to defend. And a lot of players don't relish the opportunity to defend. LeBron being one, I think, anyway. He'd rather just put up numbers and rely on his great passing ability, which is second nature to him. I think part of it you can blame on the fact that they secured the first seed fairly early, even without beating the Jazz to actually mathematically secure it. There is a push, like playing for absolutely nothing is difficult in any sport. So I will give him a ply in that sense. However, they all know that they're not LeBron James. So they can't just turn it on when the playoff comes around. They can't go 0 dark 30. They can't just I'm now the best player in the league again. So I think there is responsibility that needs to be taken there. It is worrying, hence my somber tone or somewhat somber tone of discussing this enigmatic team. I'll put it down to that a little bit. But there's majority of it, I just think it's just been really poor, just been really crap. Like the whole season has stemmed on, which I was going to lead to earlier. Our whole season has stemmed on great defense. Our efficiency ratings have been, we've been third in the league. Now we come into the bubble and we're looking like the worst out of the bunch, offensively and defensively. So it is worrying. You can't just turn it on, as I was saying. It's almost like the break we had was so long. It feels like it's a new season anyway. So yeah, I
guess the only thing I think there, and I kind of want to pivot over to you now with it, is so last night, for example, the Blazers, I think Lillard played 44 minutes. McCollum played 44 minutes. Nurkic played over 40 minutes. As you said about their bench, they're really their sort of three main threats you'd be worried about. They've gone to overtime at least twice, maybe even more. I've kept up on every single game. And because of this whole seeding thing, they've had to win every game, essentially, and have to really, really go all out. So even with that considered and with the effort they've put in, do you really see them troubling the Lakers? Okay, the big three, Dame could go, but how do you see the series actually panning out?
Yeah, so, in closing, regards to the series as a whole, as I alluded to earlier, the Blazers are allergic to defense. They're like a whole team of Luka Doncic's. They just don't want to run back and put their hands up in the slightest. In regards to this, the whole, you mentioned the numbers. I think that's a good point, actually. That's something I actually didn't consider. They have played very high minutes, a high intensity as well. So the Lakers have been chilling, relaxing, as I just said, not playing defense, resting up on D. As far as the season goes, as far as the playoff matchup goes, I don't see. I'll be a bit humble or be a bit prudent, and I'll say that the Blazers will get a maximum of 2 games. I can see the Lakers prevailing in 6 games, but I wouldn't be surprised for it to be a gentleman's sweep. So, and the reason why I say that is because regardless of how good they are on the offensive end, they have no answer for the AD LeBron pick and roll. They just have no answer. If AD decides that he is a dominant paint player and not Kevin Durant, then we'll be just about enough. Like we'll go over the line. However, we do need to rely on a little bit more playoff consistency from Kyle Kuzma, who's actually my standout player from the bubble. And I'm trying not to, for the Lakers anyway, I'm trying not to poo-poo on the Lakers name too much. If you want to hear more of my critiques of the Lakers and my fantastic analysis, please listen to episode 2, where Disu and I also backed up on AD's lack of efficiency in the paint. But yeah, Lakers.
Just last one on that. Kuzma, I think he was 29% from 3 for the majority of the season, and he's been almost double. I think about double that in the bubble. how important is he going to be as to be the third best player? That's something they've sort of talked about publicly. He needs to be the third best player. How important is he going to be defensively against someone like a McCollum? How important is he to this series?
Yeah, he's super important. He really is, and LeBron said it. He needs to be the third option. He needs to be converting open looks, because LeBron will get him open looks, and you need to be converting those open looks. Can't rely on a Danny Green anymore, who can barely play 3-and-D. You can't rely on Dion Waiters. Yeah. As knee slickers, you can't rely on these guys. Kuzma is our best bet, and I can't lie to you. Relying on Kuzma as a third option. Hope you're not listening to this, mate. But it's scary hours, man. Like it's tight. I haven't seen it before from you in the post. I haven't seen before from you in the stretch. Like even as we were ending last season.
It's his first postseason, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I was even referring to his last year where we're trying to go for the 8th seed. He was just like a ghost. Like he just didn't want to. Anyway, I'm not gonna poo-poo his name. He's been playing well, as you mentioned. He does need to put up the same numbers. Does need to consistently play well, because he can be very streaky. And hopefully, some people will be filling out that. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Lakers in 6.
Okay, cool. Disu, mate. I know you mentioned that you hadn't watched the Rockets last night, but if I'm honest, it wasn't the game to watch to see what their prospects are going to look like. Rockets taking on OKC, so Chris Paul will get a little pop at his old mate Jimmy Harden. No Russ. So can I double check you will still be watching this series?
Yeah, of course. I love playoff basketball. Only if it's some series
just
like
checking that Russ wasn't a deal breaker for you.
No, as long as it's not like, I don't know, like Memphis versus like Utah versus Denver. I ain't watching that shit. I told people.
Sorry, indeed. I mean, yeah, open question there, Disu. Like, no Russ changes things, because a lot of what the Rockets have done well since about January has been based off this dynamic between Harden and Westbrook. So how do you see things panning out? OKC been a bit of a surprise this year, so I don't know how well they'll last in a playoff series.
I don't know why people are surprised at OKC, because when I looked at OKC's squad, when I saw, okay, you're going to get Shai Gilgeous is good. He's done obviously better than I thought he was. Schroeder's always
very good player. Very good player.
And if Chris Paul's going to stay, Chris Paul's always going to play. Chris Paul's not the type of person that will, like mail it in and not try to play. Chris Paul's way too competitive for that. And they got what's his name, Gallinari, a good 3-point shooter. Steven Adams is already a solid player. So I thought they'll be in the mix for like maybe the 8th seed, but they superseded that. They came 5th. And obviously it helps when the Warriors are hampered by injuries, so that kind of opens up a playoff spot. And then Spurs notoriously were in the playoffs, but they're kind of done out now. So there's like 2 playoff spots open, and OKC managed to sneak into them. I think it'll be very, very difficult for the Rockets to be able to handle OKC, especially because OKC play 3 guards. Like that's one of their main lineups. And so when they go small,
and on those 3 guards, you mentioned 2 of them, but Dennis Schroeder has had an amazing year.
Yeah, I think he should be 6-man. He was my pick for 6-man. Not like I've got a vote or anything, but I think he should be 6-man of the year. So when they go to the 3 guard lineup, what are the Rockets going to do? Play what? Austin Rivers, Harden, and Daniel House? Like, come on, allow me. Like without Russ, literally nobody can create a shot for that team outside of Russ and Harden, which is part of the flaws of their design. That's why they stagger the lineups. You won't see Russ and Harden both sitting at the same time. It's impossible because no one else can create shots. So obviously,
how do you think they go with that now? Because I mean, when they sit Harden, at least for the first few games, how are they going to manage?
Harden's have to play high minutes. And really, I'm not sure if Gordon's back. But even if Gordon's back, he's got to shoot above 12% from 3 or whatever.
Gordon played last night, but looked like he'd been out. He's
been awful this year. So they're going to need really, really high efficiency shooting from Daniel House, Covington, Macklemore for them to get through this until Russ is back. Even on the defensive end, when you take Russ out, you have like Rivers or these guys. They ain't gonna be able to guard Shai Gilgeous or Schroeder or Chris Paul off the dribble. It's impossible. They can't guard those guys. So I think it's gonna be a real struggle. I'm not sure how many games he's missing. If it's 2, then the Rockets to try split one, and I think that's possible because James Harden could legit score like a gazillion points at any given moment. If it's 3 games, as long as they don't go down like 3-0 or something, even if it's 2-1 with Russ back, they can just go on a tear. So it's going to be tricky.
Where do you think they're most vulnerable against this OKC team? Because like you said,
I think they're most vulnerable when Harden's off the floor. So when it's the bench minutes, who's going to create shots? Because for the OKC, you're always going to have either one of Schroeder, Shea Gildress, or Chris Paul on the floor. And they can put the ball in their hands, get to the rim, get some free shot, get some foul shots, or create a shot for somebody else. When it's Harden on the bench, it's Austin Rivers. He could beat a man off the dribble and get to the basket himself. But who's going to create shots when it's the half court offense, when it's not transition? And when you have Harden and Ross off the floor, the spacing isn't quite the same, and nobody's really going to be able to penetrate and kick out as much. So that's where I think they're going to suffer the most, and that's what I'm looking forward to see how they handle.
Yeah, I'm really interested, especially with you just in watching Russ, how much he creates those corner threes, how much attention he takes towards the rim, like how much he's transformed the Houston team. Austin Rivers, I mean, surprisingly quite reliant on him, it seems like, coming into the side now.
Yeah, because I think Gordon was meant to be like that third guy on perimeter that can get you buckets off the dribble or shooting the free. And we've seen that Gordon's had a lot of injuries this year, to be fair to him. He's played a quite long career. And he's been inconsistent, especially shooting from free. But Rivers, he's seemingly, like, from watching, I can't remember his numbers. I think he's like averaging like 9 points a game, which is not the greatest. But watching the Rockets, he seems to give them a little boost off the bench where, because there's every so used to having to guard where the bench player is shooting the free, he'll just put something in a spin cycle and get to the rim. And he's a very, very good finisher at the rim. So, and didn't he hit like 41 points off the bench, like a career high the other day?
Yeah,
it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
He must have known something was important was coming.
The fact that he took 24 shots is even crazy, but he made 16 of them, so shout out to him. So he's going to be very, very important. If he can play very well and prove that he's like a solid NBA seven-man player, then Rockets should be okay until Russ comes back. But if Russ misses 4 games, then it's a wrap.
Well, this is the thing. I don't think there's any deadline for the injury. There's nothing really. I think they're going to reassess whatever that means.
And knowing Russ, like, this guy will play with no head. So he played with a dent in his face before. Like, he legit had an actual dent in his face, and he was running, he was jumping over people, he was alley-ooping. So if Russ is sitting, then you know that it's serious. Like, the guy played half an NBA playoff game with a blown out knee, and you couldn't tell. So. Yeah,
and it's again vague, but it's a quadricep injury, and then for someone as explosive as Westbrook, you do sort of think, oh, okay, that's quite
exactly. So even if he's going to play, you know he's not going to be 100%. And when I first had a quad injury, I thought, they're just making up, just want to rest Russ, innit? And then he played the games. I thought, it's fine, they're just resting him. And then when I heard that he might miss the playoffs, I was like, oh, this is an actual thing. So we'll have to see.
And I guess looking beyond the series. Really for the Rockets, there's been a lot of near misses recently coming out of the West. There isn't the Golden State boogeyman, I guess, this year. A lot of people are looking forward to a potential matchup against the Lakers if they can get past OKC. In terms of the style being so hard for people to handle, essentially, if all goes well and the Westbrook injury is not great and he does make it back in for this series and they progress, where do you see this team really, really going?
Honestly, it's mad because you've got LeBron and AD, which you can definitely count on. Well, definitely count LeBron. Like that's a given. It's a playoffs like LeBron. I know beating the Rockets, they could throw. Who can even throw at LeBron? What, Covington, Jeff Green? Nah, nobody can guard LeBron. It's just buckets. It's just buckets galore. And on the flip side, nobody's gonna guard Westbrook or Harden. Like they'll only miss shots because they're missing shots, not because the Lakers defense has stopped them. And then you have to look at the supporting cast, and playoff series often come to the role players and adjustments from coaches. You see what I'm saying? So it really, really depends on the Lakers supporting cast. If they can start making open shots on LeBron thinks is benevolently decides to give them the ball and they can make some shots, then it'll be very difficult. But if the Rockets guys make their open threes, and the Lakers will give up a ton of open threes because there's so much mismatches on defense, and the way the Rockets play will cause threes to be open. And if you're not giving up the open three, then Harden and Russ are just going to the free throw line all game, and you don't really want that. So it'll be interesting to basically what role players turn up. That's really the thing, because I think all 4 of the stars will turn up. I'm not even completely short of LeBron James. This LeBron James is definitely better than this James Harden because it's year 17. Even Anthony Davis, I might even though he's probably the most talented out of, he's not more talented than LeBron, but he should be top 5 player. I don't think he barely plays like a top 10 player sometimes. You'll get 45, 15 and 5 blocks, or you'll get 8 points and taking 6 shots. Like, the guy's bipolar. So it really depends on the role players and what adjustments each coach makes. Like, how does Frank Vogel make good adjustments across the series? Does D'Antoni? I know D'Antoni ain't, so I don't know. I still think the Lakers will win, probably like a 4-3 series, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Rockets knock them out anyway. I can't lie.
And considering the Russ injury, obviously that makes it a bit of an unknown. What would be your call for this OKC series? Do you see them springing a surprise on the Rockets, or how we looking at this?
I still calling the Rockets because I'm assuming Russ is going to miss 2 games max. Like, especially playing against OKC, Russ will come that game with 1 leg and still.
I was going to say Russ v OKC and Paul v Rockets. There's a lot of points.
Chris Paul's going to abuse me. Hey, Chris Paul's going to abuse these youths. That's actually scary. Now I'm a bit more scared thinking about it. I forgot. Yeah, Chris Paul's going to flog these guys. It really, like, James Harden's really going to have to put the team on his back. He's going to have to drop 40, 45 and 12, like probably 2 games. And yeah, I think the Rockets will probably win in 6 or 7 because of the Russ injury. If not the Russ injury, I think probably 5 or 6. But honestly, it's about the Russ injury. If Russ misses 3 games, boy, it's going 7 at best. But if he misses 4, yeah, no chance. They're not winning. So it depends.
Fair play. I'm gonna stick in the middle of the seeding for now before we finish up on the potential champions elect. Nee, I'm gonna come over to you for.
Wait. I'm talking champions elect, man. What's
potential.
Not even first seed.
Potential. Yeah, but seed. Who cares about seed?
Okay, no, about champions elect.
You know how many years?
Oh, man, been putting down your Lakers.
You know how many years DeMar and Kyle
yeah.
were fucking up the first seed over in the East? Like, it's not a lot.
I ain't trying to hear champions elect. Yeah, I'm not trying to hear that.
Hold on a minute. You've just gone on for minutes. You've just gone on for minutes about why the Lakers are in trouble, and now you're upset that the Clippers are.
They are in trouble, but by no means are Clippers champions elect.
All right, well, we're going to let Janine discuss whether they are in a little bit, and we'll get a take on that. I can see a big eye roll, so I think she's going to be coming for Hot Take Harold soon. Nee, what's good, man? Denver Jazz, this who cussed your allocated playoff matchup, but I'm actually quite interested for that. I think there's a lot of interesting little battles in there. You got Donovan Mitchell against Jamal Murray. You got Gobert and Jokic going head-to-head. I mean, the last time they met last week went to double overtime. And Mitchell came out with some of the maddest threes I've seen in a long, long time. So, listen, it might not be the most fashionable series, but you got a lot to look forward to, no?
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, it definitely won't be the most fashionable. It might not be the most exciting. It'll probably be quite a slow-paced game, but I expect it to be the tightest series in the West, for sure. I think a lot of the games will go down to the fourth quarter. They both played quite a slow-paced game. Like, I think they're 24th and the other's 29th in like pace of the game. So like they don't have a lot of possessions. They play almost like down to the shot clock. And like, I mean, like for Utah, you've got Mitchell, who tries to dictate play and create his own shot, but he's not the most efficient. And then for Denver, you've got Jokic, who kind of controls the game. And like he kind of like creates the offense, and they play quite a slow game as well. But it's quite a weird matchup that I think Denver will come through in the end. But I think they've both been sleepwalking into the playoffs a little bit, to be honest. Like since the bubbles restarted, Denver's coach, Mike Malone, has been quite critical of their defense. I think before the bubble started, they were giving up 110 points per game, and since they've come back, it's 123. So that's ballooned quite a lot. And they've gone 3-5, and so has Utah as well. Utah just don't have any consistency. They don't really play with any rhythm. Like, don't know, like on some nights it'll be Mitchell that's going off, like the game last week, and he'll take the game to overtime. Sometimes they feed Gobert, who'll go to the paint and try and do his thing, but he's not really a consistent or reliable scorer. So I don't really know for Utah. It's just a bit of a mix and match. It depends how they feel that day, to be honest. But to be honest, I mean, like there's like 4 key things I think they'll be in the series that will define who wins. I think Gobert against Jokic should be like the main matchup. And to be honest, in the past, in the game last week, I think Jokic always gets the best of Gobert. I think his ability to go onto the perimeter, I think that's not what Gobert wants to do. He doesn't like guarding people in the perimeter. He hates coming out. And I think Gobert, the pick and roll that he's got with Jamal Murray. It's probably one of the best pick and rolls in the NBA, I think.
Yeah, exceptional.
And it definitely, last week against Utah, and they really struggled to defend the pick and roll, because then Mike Conley would get switched onto, Jokic, and then I think Gobert would be guarding, he'd be guarding Murray, which is a problem for him, to be honest, because as I said earlier, Gobert is not coming out to the perimeter, and with Jokic on the smaller Conley, it's easy for him. He can either go to the rim and get buckets if he's being aggressive that night, or he can pretty much see the whole court. He can pass it out. He can find the cutters that are coming in. And because of the problem for them, the Utah coach said you can't give Gobert help in the paint. So it was just essentially Gobert against Jokic, and then it's too difficult for Gobert to guard, because he can go to the rim. Jokic, that's the thing about him. He's a pretty good player in the post. He's got a pretty decent jumper. He's a good passer if you double team him. So I think Utah are going to go with the approach where they don't double team him. But even then, I think Gobert is going to be in a lot of foul trouble.
I'm gonna come at you now a little bit, Nee, because you've just called Jokic a good passer.
Okay,
right.
Great passer. He's one of the best in the NBA.
Where do you have him in terms of big men? There's always been a little Embiid.
He's number one for me.
In there. Jokic.
Where
do you have Jokic as big man for the NBA?
He's definitely number one for me. I've been saying it for the past year and a half, and it's been a bit contentious to some of my friends who have been saying that Embiid's the best, but Embiid hasn't really shown any consistency. That guy plays like a guard sometimes. He just shows he's disinterested. I've never seen Jokic put up 0 points. That's what I'm gonna say. That couldn't be my center. And Jokic is just there in the playoffs. Last year, they went out to 7 games against the Blazers, but I remember in the 7th game he was putting up numbers. He's not afraid of the big moment. He will do what he has to do. Whereas Embiid, he's a bit of a fairy, isn't it? For a big man, he just doesn't really commit to the calls like that sometimes. So I don't really know for him, to be honest.
Embiid the fairy. I think there's got to be a meme coming out of that one somehow. But just to round up before we get to the next series, there's one person you've left out, which surely is going to have a huge impact on this, and that is someone who a couple of years ago in the draft was touted as a massive talent, but then there was all these concerns about back injuries, ACL injuries, which seemed to weirdly run in the family, and that's Michael Porter Jr., who's been maybe along with Lillard as the big bubble story, I guess.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely going to do damage, because I don't think Utah have really anyone that can really guard him. It's not a great matchup for them. And he's definitely going to get his buckets for sure, especially if Jokic and he's been guarding one-on-one and there's no help defense. Jokic will definitely take advantage of that and find an open man each time, as he usually does. And if Will Barton comes back, or the other guard, I can't remember his name right now. Who? Yeah, Harris. Yeah. If them two come back, or just on one of them, then you might see Porter Jr. going on the bench. And if he goes on the bench, he's definitely going to cause a lot of problems for their bench players, and I think Denver already got a more deeper squad now as it is, even with the injuries. And if those two come back and MPJ comes off the bench, I think Denver will definitely win the series. It's got more depth. They've got more.
I think Denver's depth is probably one of the most slept on in the league. Yeah. I think someone like, you don't know how someone like Bobo could even contribute in a playoff matchup. With the threes, just as a rogue option. You got Plumlee, who's been playing really well. Jeremy Grant's been playing really well. So it's a deep team. So you said Denver to take it. What's your prediction in terms of how many?
I think they'll take it in 6. I think each game will come down to the 4th quarter. They'll be quite close games. There won't be a lot of scoring, but I think Denver will edge it in 6.
Okay. Janine, I think you're going to have to maybe sit straight in the chair now, get your guard up, because I have a feeling that there might be a few people coming for you. At least one, anyway. We'll see what happens. So, allegedly, I'm not allowed to say it, but in my champions elect, my people that I think are definitely looking the most equipped to win the whole thing. But also partly because of the fact, Janine, that anything but a chip is almost a failure after the amount of picks given away, the Leonard George trade. This is what it was all about. It's Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks, and again, it's not an easy matchup. I think, yes, the Clippers are a much more rounded side, but Dallas could prove a few problems. What's your take on how things are going to turn out there, Clippers v Mavs?
Well, let's say to start off with, I think it'll be a hard start. Yeah, the Mavs are actually a good side, good bench on them. But you know what? Let me stick up for my Clippers. Yeah, we've got a very, very all-round bench team. Leonard, Paul George, and obviously Montrezl Harrell will be returning. I think they're saying maybe second playoff game he will be cleared. So that brings in a big aspect in terms of the power forwards. I think in terms of the Dallas Mavericks, Porzingis will be quite hard to kind of guard. But yeah, Montrezl Harrell, I think with kind of the thing that's happened with him in terms of like his grandma passing, this is going to create a lot more kind of emotion on the court, and it's going to attack very well in the paint. In terms of like the chemistry, who said about the chemistry? Was that Harold? Anyway,
she's coming already. She's looking at all the Zoom screens. Who said about the chemistry? Who said about the chemistry?
Who said that? Let's try shit. Anyway, yeah. Do you know what? I get that. I think before the hiatus, like the regular season games, Leonard and George, they didn't really kind of flow together. There wasn't actually that chemistry. I think now, in terms of the bubble, although they seem kind of relaxed, they're going to attack quite well. And I mean,
we saw Kawhi for the first time, very, very upset at pass not coming to him. And then him walking away in typical Kawhi manner. I mean, that's not the best showing of chemistry I've ever seen, but, you know,
listen, talk about your chemistry between LeBron and AD, and then we'll have a talk, okay?
I mean, they're around each other's house for Taco Tuesday, so
drinking wine and cheese.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how much Taco Tuesdays translates to playoff Tuesdays. I don't know.
You know what? Yeah, they're looking. I think Leonard and Paul George are looking quite athletic in the bubble right now. For me, they're a little bit too relaxed right now. So it'd be good to see what they can bring, obviously, in terms of the playoffs. Obviously, Mavs have got Luka, but he's not a good shooter, in my opinion. He attacks in the paint, and to be fair, you know what? I think he averaged like 28 games, something like that, points per game. So he's actually doing better than the Clippers overall, and even their rebounds and assists are actually kind of better than ours. But
wait, Janine, sorry, there are gonna be people listening, who are novices, who see Luka's game and see him putting up high numbers, and then you said he's not a shooter, so they're a bit like,
he's a shooter, but he's not. I don't think he's the best shooter.
Okay. He's high volume.
He does. Sorry.
No, it's he's like high volume. He's not really a shooter like that.
Yeah, he's not efficient in shooting. So in terms of obviously, if we get people like Lou Williams is a great shooter. Obviously, if he plays starting minutes, it'll be a very fast-paced game. So I can't really call it, to be fair. I mean, we've got two strong sides, but I think the Clippers are going to edge it.
Just a quick one, Janine, on Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell. Obviously, Montrezl Harrell had a family tragedy, which you alluded to. Has been out of the bubble even till now, pretty much. He's I don't know if he's back now.
He hasn't been cleared. Yeah, he's still in quarantine. So.
And then Lou Will famously went to get wings, thighs, breast, and everything else. Wings. Sorry, the wings were, what was it?
The wings.
But then my only worry is, like, you saw in the first few games, like, people did get up to scratch quick, but then you've got playoff intensity, which for anyone who's not experienced a playoff run is just a different level. Like, everything gets amped up. You'd almost benefit from a long run against the Mavs, maybe going 6 or 7, just so those two could get some reps. Like, how long do you think it will take them to get back into the swing of everything?
It's difficult. I think maybe 2 or 3 games in. We're going to start off slow, I think. The Mavs will definitely attack very hard, first of all. But I think their bench is weak. Doncic and Porzingis, that's all we can say about them. Like, it's like a 2-man team, as literally just same as Lakers, apart from Kuzma, but we'll talk about him later. I think with our bench, they're starting off a good 5, maybe Leonard, Paul George, Harrell, Zubac.
Sorry, Harold. Hot take. Harold has a face, right? I gotta speak on this. Harold, You just shit on your whole roster, yeah. And then when
Literally.
someone else does it, you get upset. It's like when you cuss your sibling and then someone else does it and you get upset.
That is exactly what it's like, bro. You know that you can do this, but others, they don't have that privilege as yet. So
Lakers are lazy.
get rattled.
Lazy Lakers, man.
Lazy Lakers, that was saying,
Lazy
yeah.
Lakers, man.
Okay.
That's strong.
Okay.
I'm backing that one.
Trailblazers
Now,
are
man.
Yeah. You would, you Celtic.
I might have to go on the Twitter today. So I mean, I think Janine, like you made a good point there that Porzingis, Doncic, that's who you got to worry about. But it's the best offense in the NBA at the same time. So there must be some scrubs out there overperforming as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are bringing a really good offense, but our defense, I think Clippers have been working on their defense quite well. We brought in, obviously, Noah in, and obviously, I'm just going to big up Montrez because I think people are not ready for what he's going to be bringing to the game. He's a great attacker in the paint, and it would be hard. I think it would be hard to guard him, especially if he's playing alongside Beverly, but I know some people are going to start rolling their eyes.
I don't need to be convinced. I'm a Montrez, Drew Williams, Batman and Robin mega fan, and I think Beverly is perfect for this team in how much output you get from everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? If he was taking shots away from Kawhi, George, Williams, you'd be saying, "What are you doing?" Right? So I got one question.
You sound like you're making it sound like he's some distraction. Yes.
No, I'm saying he does his job. He's a good spot up shooter.
To be a placebo or something.
But hold on, it's the same thing with me as a Celtics fan. Like, I know we're not having a good game when I love him. He's my favorite Celtic. But I know we're not having a good game when Marcus Smart has the most shots on the floor. Yeah, I know we're struggling. I know we've been outdone it. It's similar, yeah. And I think Pat Bev is a really, really good fit. For any newbies who've made it this far into the podcast, just think to yourself, do you know what? I don't even think a Kante comparison is the worst thing in the world, in that you put him there and you know that he will lock down anyone 1 to 3. He's going to facilitate and enable the other people to do what they can do.
He can guard LeBron. So
no, man, that's giving him too much props
You're
compared to
giving him
Kante.
too much credit.
I stopped at 1 to 3. He's not quite Marcus Smart 1 to 5, but I stopped at 1 to 3. But we'll see. Janine, just to round up, I think Clippers are my favourites for this series. My favourites for the title. I think their depth is unmatched really across rosters, I'd say. But the only thing I would say is just after giving your prediction for this series in particular, I think we'll finish the pod by just saying, if the Clippers are your favourite to win it, who do you most fear, whether it be from the East in a finals matchup or anyone else in the West? So prediction first, and then who you think would be the biggest test for the Clippers?
Prediction, I think it's hard to know. I don't really want to predict for the Clippers, but I just know it'll probably be like 5-2 maybe. I think from the West, our hardest matchup definitely will never be the Lakers. I think, sorry, they're not even going to contend with us. But I think...
Can we just clip that for future use, yeah?
That would be there. Don't watch that.
Make that into a GIF, into a meme, anything you want, because I'll say it again.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the backing music on that. Ladies and gentlemen, we got it. I can't wait.
To be fair, I just think the only biggest test we're going to have in the East will probably be the Raptors.
Yeah, why did you put the Raptors down?
Raptors, you know, same as our bench, they've got a very, very all-round bench as well, very solid. Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, even Siakam as well. All three of my faves from the Raptors. They've been putting up quite a lot of numbers in the bubble games, even in the scrimmage games as well. Actually, they were doing quite well. I think in our scrimmage games, although they didn't really mean anything, we were quite relaxed. I think obviously trying to settle back in from that long period of not playing, I think we look like, oh no, we're not even on form right now. Although obviously we've come out being second seed. The Raptors just, for me overall, in terms of actually all teams, the Raptors have actually got my vote. Although the Clippers obviously my fave. So
the West's a breeze then, yeah.
Yeah, West is a breeze.
I'll clip that one as well. Listen, just to finish off.
Wait. Sorry, before you go, sorry.
I think the only test will probably be the Nuggets, to be fair.
I want to understand why you're reluctant to give a prediction on the game against probably the worst team defensively that I've seen in the bubble, other than the Lakers, the Dallas Mavericks. But you are
What? Mavs have been better than the Mavs have been better than the Lakers though. So.
at defense. You're getting at least 150 points a game in that series. Listen, this is happening. Why are you reluctant to call that game, but you're so quick to say that the West is going to be a breeze?
No, the West will be a breeze, but obviously I cannot, take away the fact that we are still going to be playing a very offensively. They are quite good. Obviously, they have got Luka. So, and I did say obviously earlier that he's not a great shooter, but he still can shoot. So, but in terms of even making stuff like 3 points, I don't even think he'll be clear of that with our roster. So,
your confidence rattles me, but.
Harold, I'm gonna give you a chance to put something in the sand now, put a little flag in the sand. I think just to finish up, we're gonna go around, and now that we've seen bubble life, now that the playoffs are here, now that shit takes like mine that the Sixers will make it out of the East, are dead and buried from the beginning of the season, I'm gonna just whiz round, and I just want your favorite for the chip, for the title, for everything. Harold, what we saying? Hot take are coming.
I mean, it'll be ludicrous if I said anything other than the LA Lakers.
No, Harold. Like, you don't have to perform, bro. You can be honest.
No. Okay, you guys, you're taking a piss. I gave you my prediction, and you tell me I don't have to perform. Are you okay? Anyway, we have the best player in the NBA. We have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. And I'm on this.
AD's not top 5.
Yeah. Be quiet, you.
Okay, LA Lakers. Nee, what are you saying?
I'm going to Clips for sure.
Yeah, Janine, I don't think I need to come to you, but
I say Clippers, Raptors close second.
Disu,
Clippers.
Clippers, yeah. So when I next say champions elect, you can't come at me, Harold, when it's a 4-1. Yeah, 4-1. Listen, everyone, thanks for your time. Eastern Conference pod is coming up straight after this one. So once you're scrolling, if you are listening, once you're done with this one, it should be right next to it in the feed. Hop over, hear what we've got to say about the East. We've got Clippers as champions-elect from here, despite what the Lakers fan would like to say. We've got all of the predictions for each series, and I think the West could throw some really, really big games up, so I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone, for your time, and yeah, man, see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.
In a bit.